Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Lee Van Dam here, and we are back with another video on how to play Lee Chaolan. And today, we're going to talk about the heat system. So, the heat system is the universal new upgrade system for every character in Tekken 8 that was built on the spirit of aggression. So, we're going to answer 4 questions with this video. We're going to answer what is heat, how to get into heat, how to get out of heat, and how heat benefits Lee. And so thank you so much again for coming to hang out. If this is your first time, glad to have you. If you're returning, I'm so happy that you've come back to hang out one more time. Don't forget to subscribe. We've got videos going on every week, and I'm getting better at the shorts game, trying to make sure we get things highlighted and let you know what's coming up next. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So, first question is, what is heat? So, heat is an amplified aggression system that you have in Tekken 8, where it really ramps up the personalities and the traits of these characters. And so, one thing I love about Tekken 8 is they went through great pains to differentiate the characters and highlight things you should be looking to do, because that's how that character operates. For example, with Nina and Lee, these are both poke-centered characters. Nina's more pressure, overwhelming poke. Lee is more poke, counter-hit oriented, let me snag you into a frame trap poke. But they're both poking characters, but they do it differently, and their perks really show that. So, with Nina's got a couple things going on that are really crazy. She's got guns now. I mean, and she's got that nice coat. I like that coat, Nina. It's real nice. But she's got guns now, and the guns, they're far-reaching. They do a lot of chip damage. They help her keep the pressure on at a great distance, and they help her with wall carry and all kinds of stuff to make sure that she stays overwhelming. And then she's got that Aikido. You know, she's had that Aikido since Tekken 2. You know, she's been snapping them limbs. You know, she makes Steven Seagal proud. And so whenever she gets a hold of one of those limbs, well, you lose all your recoverable health. That's terrifying. It's crazy. So you got to watch out for her throws. You got to work around her poking, try to figure out how you're going to calm her down, how you're going to slow her down so that way she doesn't overwhelm you. And with Lee, when Lee gets moves perfectly, the cardinal system kicks in, and when Lee does his best, these moves change. Some of these moves are unblockable. Some of these moves, they look ordinary, but then when he puts his heart and soul into it, he lets you know you're marvelous. You get extra frames, you get extra damage, you get extra effects. It's crazy. So, you know, it's wild how much personality you get just from the little things that each character individually brings to the table. And what heat does is heat amplifies those things by 1 billion. So you're running at like 12 out of 10, and along with that, heat gives you, it makes everything have chip damage, because as you know, this game has recoverable health. Some moves have chip damage when you're not in heat, but when you're in heat, everything has chip damage. So especially for 2 poke heavy characters, they really can lean into that. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later on in the video. So not only does everything have chip damage, but you get extra move properties on some moves. You get access to the heat blast and the heat dash, which are both very powerful tools to go along with rage art. So you have a lot of options that heat brings to the table. You only get 1 bar per round, and you're going to learn how to make the most use of that bar the more you play this game. So that's heat. I love it. It kind of reminds me of Garu's top system, the TOP system, or the SPG system that's coming back, because you have a choice of when you want to power up your character. In that game, it's a little different because you place the top system on parts of your life bar. So when you get to that area of your life bar, that's when you get to power up. In this game, you get to make the choice via getting into heat when you want to. We're going to talk about that next. So there are 2 ways for you to get into heat. The 2 ways are going to be your heat engager and your heat burst. So we're going to talk about the heat burst next, and I'm going to set things up for that right now. Okay, awesome. So with Heat Burst, boom. So this armored move is really, really good. And the more we play Tekken 8, I think the more people appreciate that, because it gives us a little bit of Tekken 6 back, but not too much. Not too much. Boom. +2 on hit. I think it's plus it's +1 on block. So you still have advantage when you activate Heat Burst. So that way you have some breathing room. You can take your turn. You can start your offense going, or at least put the opponent on notice. It has armor. It has armor. I think it absorbs up to 3 hits, and so that armor helps you get out of sticky situation. Oh, I forgot I wasn't. As you can see, it beats Power Crush moves, and it can beat moves when it comes out as priority. So that's really good to remember, because you only get to go into heat one time. And as you notice, if someone's in the air, if Tekken 6 bound, so it allows you to get extra damage. It turns into a launcher sometimes when you're defending yourself. So I think it's very, very cool when you use Heat Burst. When you use Heat Burst, you get 2/3 of your heat bar, and then it starts draining. And with heat, you'll notice that the bar stops whenever you're attacking. So it doesn't drain when you land an attack, and it doesn't drain until their stun animation ends. So on longer moves that have different reels, you'll notice it lasts a long time. See? It waits until the reel is finished, until they have the ability to move again. Your heat's not draining until that happens. So what does that mean? That means in juggles, you're not losing heat when you hit somebody in a juggle. See? So when you get a juggle, don't worry about your heat running out, because it's not going to. When you catch somebody, with a sequence, again, don't worry about heat running out when you're doing your combos and your strings. It's going to be there for you, because it only drains when the other person has the ability to move around, and they're not in a block stun or not in a hit stun. All right, so cover the Heat Burst. Next, we're going to cover heat engagers, because this is unique to every character. They have certain moves which they put you in one of the most disadvantaged states I've ever seen in Tekken, the heat engager. It's wild, it's hard hitting, it lets you know business is about to pick up, and as you can see, you get a full bar when you hit somebody with a heat engager. It's pretty wild. Now, heat engagers only work when people are standing. So you can hit with the same move and, in the air, it's not going to be a heat engager. So it only works when they're standing. It only works when you hit them. So heat engagers don't activate on block either. But as you see, when you hit somebody, +17. So you get a lot of time. You're going to have an opportunity to mix them up. You're going to have a lot of time. Almost anything you do is going to work. So do not be afraid of their counterattacks. You can worry about Rage Art a little bit, because they might pop that on you, but do not be afraid of their counterattacks. Some characters have sways and other specific things where you may have to really think about what you're going to do when you pursue them, but they're not going to have advantage at all. Not at all. So you have plenty of time to work things out and figure out what your best options are going to be based on what they're doing. Now, sure, there's some universal ways where you can just keep the pressure going, where you can just do like, while running 3-4, you could do standing threes +7 on hit if they duck. You got back 3-3. It's going to give you advantage going into it, and it's very fast. A good mix, even though they're both punishable. Just doing a knee, because if they flinch to try to block back 3-3, they're not going to have time to block the knee, so they're going to get launched. So they're going to pick. It is a 50-50. They're going to have to guess and see what's going on. You know, that's just not, the game's just not going to allow them any tomfoolery. See, they're going to have to guess. So it's really good. Some universal things that you could do is you could do running 3-4 just to keep your offense going, because if they block that, you're either +3 or you're going to be +6 if you go into Hitman. And while you're in Heat, that's especially dangerous, because you get two things in Heat that the game gives you universally. You get Heat Dash, and you get Heat Blast. Okay, let's talk about Heat Blast first. So Heat Blast is the powerful attack that everybody gets. As you see, Lee's is low. So Lee's being low is actually pretty cool, because if you try to do a Power Crush, it can beat the Power Crush out because it's low. But as you can see, it's also low. So you do a jump and attack. Listen, computer's like, listen, you're not hitting me with that. There we go. Computer was like, you're not going to hit me with that low. But as you see, it beats out the Power Crush because it's low. And it's also a Heat Blast. So I believe they beat out Power Crushes as well anyways. But with it being low, it's awesome. They don't get a chance to armor. It deals extra damage. So normally, doing 37, but you get 40 on counter hit, which is cool. 40 in this game is a chunk. That is a lot of damage. And it does pretty good damage at the end of a combo. However, I would honestly recommend on almost all occasions just doing a Heat Dash into 4-4-3, because that ender is like a clean, 10 damage at the end of a combo. The scaling's different, and so I definitely would recommend doing that instead. Speaking of Heat Dash, let's talk about it. So Heat Dash is cool because it really gives you an opportunity on hit or block to keep things going. And so we're gonna talk, let's do block all. So look at that, you're -9, right? So if you're in Heat, you do your Heat Engager and do Heat Dash, you're +5. So instead of losing your turn, you get to keep your turn. All of your Heat Engagers do this. So they all put you in a position where you're +5 and you still get to go. Now, as far as on hit though, the Heat Dash is amazing because it can turn some moves into juggle starters. So we know that 4-4-3 is amazing, but how amazing is it when you can get it to start a juggle? So when you're in Heat, all of a sudden, while standing 2-3, even though this is not consistent, because you don't always hit that, when you're already in Heat, you take that 4-4-3 on there. You're getting your extra damage. You are getting your extra damage. So it makes some scenarios with Lee super dangerous to where it can really close out a round because you're going to get a lot of extra damage out of Heat Dash. Really amazing. All of Lee's Heat Engagers, can activate Heat Dash. Because I think that's the way it works for every character. But so you can also activate Heat Dash if you catch somebody slipping and you Power Crush them, and you can really get some crazy advantage. Oh, you're attacking? Get some crazy stuff going on. So it's really, really cool. As you play the game, you'll learn more of what you need to do, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, because that knockdown is not technical, so you can really make some crazy back turn stuff. Do some crazy back turn stuff to people too. If they're not paying attention, they just try to get up. It can be bad news for them. All right, so we have talked about how to get into heat, what is heat, how to get out of heat. So how does this really benefit Lee? Like heat, how do we do it? All right, so few things are going on. I want to tell you that I've got a video on the Cardinal system and how it plays with heat. I've got that. I'll have that in the description below. So that's going to be more in depth. But the TLDR version is that Lee has the ability that once you get really good at this game and you get good at his execution, you're going to be able to stay in heat a very long time. And you're going to really be able to make conversions happen that are wild, because Lee's Cardinal system gains heat back. So what does that really mean for you? So let's say you start off with a heat bounce. Let's say you, okay, so we started our offense. Okay, I want you to just think about how long I was in heat unloading on Nina if she just decided to block, simply because I was able to utilize the Cardinal system to regain heat back. There was a lot of chip damage involved, so this really helps force the issue of I need to duck Lee. He stayed in heat a very long time, so even the moves that normally don't chip, they chip too. So this in itself helps really pressure people into making a mistake for you to use your counter hit game, and I really love that. Now, of course, there was a lot of holes in that sequence. You're not going to be doing something like that unless someone just doesn't know what's going on, because a lot of what Lee does that leads to chip is high, and that's by design, to make sure that people have a way out, because otherwise people wouldn't have a way out, and then you'd be sitting there just getting a bunch of meter back and just bludgeoning them to death. And you know, getting temporary health back in this game requires you to hit somebody successfully, or, you know, trigger a heat invader to heal a lot, unless you're June or Yoshi. But okay, so heat really helps you to where if you've got a tight game plan, if you get you like 3 or 4 moves where you're able to poke, have an idea of what you want to happen, and if that doesn't happen, have a way to safely get out. Listen, you can go far with Lee. Work in the Cardinal system so you can get heat back. Remember that you get the mistrap throw for free, and it doesn't matter when you do it. So you could almost be out of meter. You could be on your last legs. And so on your last legs, when you've done all this poking, remember that it doesn't matter how much meter you have, you can still activate. You can still activate Heat Blast. You can still be doing stuff. You know, you can still be getting in there. You can be mixing it up, you know, doing stuff, you know, getting in there. You know, getting in there. And then you can still do Heat Dash at the end, because it doesn't matter how much meter you have. These moves use the remaining amount of meter. So you could have a small sliver and get heat dash in. You could have a small sliver and start recovering heat with using the Cardinal system. Or you could have a small sliver and still do the mistrap throw. So just keep that in mind, because the heat management is one of those things where you have a lot more opportunities than you think. So don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to get in the lab and look and say, okay, we've got some tight frames here. Let's see, I want to do one. I want on hit, I'm going to do down forward 1. So that way I'm at 1. And then I can duck and I can do wall standing 4. I can do wall standing 1. And if they do something, I can pop them, you know, do this to get in. You know, you want to get in there and you want to figure out just tight, small block strings to where you can put those together. And then what happens is when you go into heat, especially if you've been pestering people with things that look like they're safe and they look like they don't have a lot of holes to be able to work with, then you can start going crazy. And see, in heat, the extra pressure from the chip damage, you're going crazy. If you're doing things that you haven't shown in the match yet, you got some extra wrinkles. Like, say, for example, they know that that's high, so then you start doing, okay. Or you start off with this, which this is safe on block. You start off with this, so they get used, you know, to blocking, and then you just, you pop them. Uh-oh. You just pop them. And then all of a sudden you're at +5, and that +5 leads to this. You know, it leads to you just frame trapping them because they don't realize, oh, I'm at disadvantage. Makes all the difference in the world. So, what do you think of heat? Let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate you coming by to hang out with me. If you like this, be sure to throw me a like. If you haven't subscribed already, do it. Got a lot of Tekken going on, a lot of other fighting games going on. If you check out my channel, you know, we've been doing lots of fighting games, mobile games on here too. But I'll have the next series, next piece of how to play Tekken 8 with Lee coming out very soon. And again, I really appreciate you coming to hang out with me. Until next time, this is Lee Van Dam. You guys take care. God bless. I'll see you later.